Of the day with Ray. Hello, my friends. Well, you can see in that sharp interactive board, I have Paul Berndt, and Paul Berndt is the CEO of NetVPro at MSP. And I wanted to bring Paul on, and we're going to talk a little bit about the Microsoft changes in the way they're pricing their software into the marketplace. Folks, it's anywhere from an 8 to 25% increase in software costs, and it's a 20% increase if you decide to pay by the month as opposed to paying by the year. Paul, how are you doing, man? How are things going with your MSP these days?
Oh, my MSP is doing great. People need our services. We're growing like gangbusters. Big thing is trying to find people to actually do the work. That's hard.
Well, I hear that a lot. You know, there's obviously, this whole pandemic has caused people to rethink their vocation in life and rethink where they want to work and how they want to work. And, there's going to be a lot of changes over the next few years. But, hopefully there's still quality people out there that are looking for a quality place to work. I mean, as long as we can meet those two things, we should be okay. But, let's talk about this Microsoft, price increase, because I'm sitting here thinking about some of these MSPs, if they were billing their customers monthly and now all of a sudden they got to pay for the thing all up front. If you're an MSP with thousands of licensing out there, that could make a big impact to your cash flow. So let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, it's a huge impact for businesses' cash flow if they wanted to get the discount, if they didn't pass it on to their customers, if they bundle it in. A lot of, maybes or ifs depending on how you set up the business. So a lot of people bundle everything in and don't pass it through their customers. So they have to swallow that inside their agreements. Luckily, my business, we bundle everything except for Microsoft. So we bill them monthly. So we've already informed our customers that their prices are going up. Mm-hmm. And if they want to sign an agreement with Microsoft, then they can get that discount. Otherwise, it goes up almost 45%. That's a huge increase for people, that didn't budget for this increase.
Well, so in your case, so you charge the monthly fee for all the other products and services, if you will, that you sell the customer. You leave the Microsoft licenses out of that equation, and then were you managing that for the customer already? So if the customer had 100 users and you were buying the 100 licenses for 365 as an example, you would just charge the customer what you were being charged? Or did you just tell the customer, go to Microsoft and buy whatever you need?
So we are part of their program. We're a silver partner, and we get a minor markup through our partner, our consolidator. Mm-hmm. We use PAX 8 to consolidate our price, our Microsoft licensing. We manage all that for them, so they don't have to worry about it. They just we just let them know. It's like, here you have a E3 license, E365, E3, E5, and we make all those changes for them when they make those changes and want them. The big thing is with Microsoft, they want to lock you in mm-hmm. for a year commitment or even 3 years on that license level. And you can't downgrade, you can't subtract. You have to just pay out the license even if you go bankrupt. So
if the company itself goes bankrupt, but you're the MSP in the middle of that and you're providing that services and you bought those licenses to resell to that end user, you're still on the hook.
Correct. You're still on the hook if you signed up for that 1 year or 3 year commitment on behalf of the customer. Yes. So that's why.
Well, I was just thinking, so if right now the customer has a license, and let's say that license ends in June of this year. So when their current license ends in June of this year, for them to get a new license, they're going to have to do it for the whole year as one option, or they're going to have to do it monthly, that they can do, but they're going to have to pay a 20% surcharge on top of the already price increase. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Interesting. So if in your case, so you're going to go to these customers and say, look, here's the problem. Your license expires XYZ month. Your new agreement's going to cost this much money. Then that would be paying it for the whole year, or you can pay it monthly for this much money. And that's what you've already addressed that with your end users?
Yeah, we have already let them know that there's going to be a price increase.
How do the end users respond to that versus how they want to pay? Are they tending to say, hey, we're just going to go ahead and pay for the whole thing up front? Or are they saying we want to pay monthly?
Yeah, it's 50-50. Some people have said, hey, let's just write the check. Let's get the discount. We know we're going to need email. We know we need Office. Mm-hmm. So let's just go ahead and get this done and out of the way and pay it up front and not worry about it. but a lot of people didn't budget for it. So they're like, well, we just got the budget for the price increase and pay monthly.
Well, here's the reality, and I know a lot of MSPs, they run around the world and they tell everybody, we're going to fix your cost, we're giving you a budgetable number. But, I don't know if MSPs can do this anymore. I mean, I think the MSPs could tell the end users that, hey, we're going to put everything together for you. We're going to control your costs. I think it's more about controlling your costs because we're seeing all these, advancements in the cyber security threat, the bad actors. We're seeing MSPs having to spend a lot more investment for the people like we talked about as we opened. And so, the bottom line is, can you really fix a price to a customer for 3 years? I think it's going to be harder and harder for MSPs to do that. And then if you don't do that and you get increases from your suppliers or your software manufacturers, you're going to have to be able to pass those on to the end users. Did we do a bad job as MSPs, do you think, is, convincing the customers that nothing would ever change? And do we need to rethink how we talk to customers?
You're probably right. We do have to rethink of how we talk to customers. And a lot of people have built in automatic increases yearly, because of inflation. Just IT services just cost more and more every year. And if you're not building in that cost to your customers, your margins are shrinking, and you're in the end of the day, you're going to lose out.
Well, I think it should be a kind of an advance warning to everybody. Microsoft won't be the first one. And, in all fairness to Microsoft, and I was reading a little bit about this, but, they haven't really had a price increase in a long time on their platform. They've added so much more capabilities with audio and video. And so, there probably had to be some kind of price increase. I think that charging someone 20% more to go on a monthly subscription when the whole damn world wants to go on monthly subscriptions is a little bit crazy to me. I mean, I think to me that's the disconnect. I mean, why punish someone because they want to pay monthly versus getting the money all up front? Obviously, everybody wants to get the money all up front, but isn't the whole world telling everybody we want to bill you on a subscription model?
Yeah, you're right. It's pay. We've been, talking about pay as you go all along, and all of a sudden Microsoft wants to change the game in the middle and go, we're going to lock you in. We want to lock you in on this platform. You can't change, you can't upgrade, you can't downgrade, you can't drop licenses, to get that discount. That's the big thing.
And so that's another thing that happens. So if you go ahead, let's just say that you want to exercise the ability to save 20% and you pay up front, and the customer loses some people during that time, there's no downgrading in the price, right? It's fixed. You can't lower the price. Is that correct?
That's correct. You cannot change your license at all. There is no change.
You can add to it, though, right?
You can add to it, of course.
Yeah. Yeah. You always get the more money, but you can't get the lower money. Interesting. So, let me ask you a question, Paul. How does it affect, do you have any particular customers you could talk about? Like, this customer had this many endpoints, and this is what we're going to. This is where we were, and this is what we're going to, so we can kind of understand how that impacts your cash flow.
Yeah, no, without a doubt. I can just talk about my business. I mean, we've seen the uplift of 20% right off the bat. So that's affected my cash flow right at the wrong time because taxes are hitting at the same time. We've got state and local taxes. We've got federal taxes coming up. So, yes, we're paying quarterly, but, there's always that above and beyond. So my cash flow is crunching right now.
Well, I'm just thinking about, yesterday I did a video and I talked about new charter. It's an IT roll-up. There were 16 companies in this. They said they had 57,000 endpoints. And I'm thinking to myself, if of those 57,000 endpoints, how many of those endpoints are using, Microsoft 365, and what's an impact like that on a big company like that? So, it doesn't really matter whether you're small or whether you're big. You're going to be writing a big check. Most people will want to figure out a way to pay for that all up front and save that 20%. And that would be really crippling for some of the smaller organizations out there. But, it is a big impact, obviously.
Yeah, and we've already had some of our larger customers that have been on a yearly renewal, and they just pay that big check, $20,000-$30,000 check once a year, and to get that Microsoft discount.
So in your customers, when you went out there, because if you got to pay more, obviously you're charging them more, so it doesn't hit you completely as your cost. So what's the reception of that?
They're not happy.
But they really can't. I mean, what can they do about it at the end of the day? They got to have the license.
Right. There's nothing they can do about it. Nobody's really switching off because of this 20% increase. And like I said, changing it to, plus the new commerce experience, 20% uplift. So it becomes almost a 45% increase. Nobody's switching off of, but it really does leave a bad taste in people's mouths.
Well, it seems to me if you're going to do a new deal, so you're bringing on a new customer, you could take those licenses and bundle those up for 2 years or 3 years if you were going to do a total, managed contract where you're going to pay one fee for everything, hardware and all the services combined, like a lot of MSPs do, and just go ahead and finance that, pass that on to the customer so you don't have to mess with paying it monthly or paying that surcharge. I mean, because it seems to me that you would want to try to pay it all up front if you could, because you're already getting an 8 to 25% increase, and on top of that, paying another 20%. That's a lot of money. I mean, that is a lot of money.
It is a lot of money. And people are talking more and more about financing because it makes sense.
Yeah, and well, Microsoft does that too. Are they offered any kind of finance program? Like, can they say, okay, you could pay it all up front, and it'll cost you this much by doing it through us? Are they offered any of that?
I have not noticed any of that.
Because Microsoft did have a finance platform at one point in time. I don't know if they're using that for this or not.
I know Dell has a finance platform.
Yeah.
But
well, it seems to me that, and there's a lot of talk about this, that a lot of these software companies, a lot of these, IT providers are really trying to figure out how to get to these end users direct. And I don't think it's going to be very long before Microsoft just deals with the end user. Just like, an MSP's end users deal with their AT&T or their ISP provider. I mean, it's just getting to a point where, these OEMs, if you will, of software are really, they're trying to figure out how to bypass the channel. I mean, why do they need the channel? They know the end users have to have software. It's not rocket science. And they're trying to figure out a way, in my opinion, how to get those end users to go directly to them. And it wouldn't be surprising if they start, doing the monthly fee on their own with the end user, but make the MSPs pay for it all up front.
Yeah, it wouldn't be surprising, but you're right, Ray. I mean, they are pinching, the bottom level and trying to get people going direct. And I know some IT firms have, in the past, they weren't buying, asking their end users to buy the license direct from Microsoft. And more of them are saying, just go buy it from Microsoft. It's not worth the hassle of paying this fee and, sorting through it, making sure everything is right for the customer. Just have the end user buy it directly. I mean, there's a lot of bigger companies, like you said, going after, that home user, the small business, going direct, and where they don't need a managed service company like myself anymore.
Well, that's why I keep saying you got to move upstream. You got to get into bigger accounts that are more. They need that hand holding, if you will, more. They're compliant, needy, and they're more concerned about their IT infrastructure, because the lower hanging fruit is those are just going to become commodity buyers, and they're I mean, at the end of the day, when the software manufacturers can go directly to those end users and bypass the channel or the MSP, it's a home run for them. You can't blame them if they can get there. Without the MSP, they're making a lot more money. I mean, they just completely take you out of the equation. So, well, Paul, hey, it's great having you on. Let's keep track of this as we go. And I see you got a copier sitting there behind you, but it looks like it's unplugged.
Yeah, I'm in an empty conference room, and they just unplugged and pushed the excess equipment in here.
There you go. A printer not being used. That should warn my friends in the imaging channel. Paul, it's always great talking to you, because both of us know this. Status quo is the killer of all that'll be invented. Don't get stuck in status quo, and I'll see you all tomorrow.